There we go. Good morning, everyone. Board members, are we ready? Yeah, ready. You're good. Good morning. Welcome to the February State Board of Education meeting. We have a fairly short action agenda today, and then we'll be doing a work session afterwards. We're going to go ahead and start. We have Ms. Woods on Zoom, and the rest of the board members here. Or Mr. Henderson will be joining us later. We'll start with a moment of silence, please. Thank you. It's always fun to start our morning with a cheery face, and we're excited to welcome Mallory Stuckey, Miss Natural State Teen, this morning.
If I could, thank you, Dr. Marley. I'll take a quick opportunity to introduce our spotlight. I always am impressed with the talent and quality of the students here in the state of Arkansas. And every now and then we get to meet paths with people that I think are extraordinary and special. And so our first spotlight that we wanted to bring today is Mallory Stuckey. And I got a chance to meet her last year, and she's taken on some of her own priorities, initiatives. And today she's going to share with the board some of the work that she's working on, and kind of like a partnership that we have with the Department of Education to help promote this exciting topic. And so Mallory's a sophomore at Risen High School, and we'd like to invite her to the podium to share a little bit about what her special project is. So come on up.
Good morning. My name is Mallory Stuckey, and I'm a sophomore at Risen High School. I'm Miss Natural States Teen. As part of the Miss Arkansas Teen Scholarship Organization, my community service initiative is to raise awareness in Arkansas about sun safety and skin cancer. My goal for this year, with your help, is to encourage all 237 schools in Arkansas to participate in Sun Safety Week. With 1 in 5 Americans developing skin cancer in their lifetime, education about sun safety is a vital step toward reducing risk and enjoying the outdoors safely. Children are a serious concern because unprotected exposure to the sun during youth puts them at an increased risk for skin cancer. In fact, just one blistering sunburn in childhood more than doubles your chances of developing melanoma later in life. The good news is that UV-related health effects are largely preventable by implementing sun protection practices early and consistently. Educators can play a major role in protecting children by teaching and modeling sun-safe behaviors. School-based programs on sun safety are an effective way to teach children at an early age how to protect themselves and help decrease their risk of developing skin cancer as adults. The past 2 years, I have submitted and approved proclamations declaring May as Skin Cancer Awareness Month in Arkansas, but I knew I wanted to do more, encouraging sun safety awareness in schools. Last year, I met with Commissioner Oliva about the idea of Sun Safety Week. My school, Cleveland County School District, agreed to pilot it last year. It was a huge success. I created daily themes to get the students involved. We shared a skin cancer statistic each day to educate students, and I shared activities for elementary teachers to do with their students. The students not only enjoyed this week, but they learned so much. With your help, I want to encourage all schools in Arkansas to recognize Sun Safety Week. I would like to do this on the first full week of May, which will be May 6th through 10th, 2024. I have created a flyer with daily themes for students to participate in. I've also created QR codes for students to scan, which will lead them to a skin cancer statistic. For elementary students, I have created a coloring book. I've created an activity booklet, and I would love to share this with the teachers for the classrooms to participate in. The CDC already has guidelines for school programs to prevent skin cancer. Sun Safety Week will help schools implement those guidelines. The urgent need for action is supported by alarming statistics. This year, there will be more new cases of skin cancer than all other types of cancer combined. Please help me reach all schools in Arkansas and encourage the participation of Sun Safety Week in 2024.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing coming to us today. That's such an important platform that you have, and really neat to see the materials that you've already created as you think about it with your school and other schools across the state.
Thank you for allowing me to come.
So I don't know if board members may have some questions for Mallory, but I think overall, we just want to get a feeling from the board. Is this an initiative we think we should stand behind and help support and implement?
Any questions, board members, or any comments?
So, no questions, but just a huge round of applause again for you. You are a remarkable young woman, and I can't wait to see what you do next. I want to go put on some sunscreen right now. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come share with us today. We're going to get a picture with you,
Okay.
if you don't
Dr.
mind.
Moore, would it be appropriate for us to maybe have a proclamation or something at an upcoming board meeting to kind of
Yeah.
whatever, formalize the request she's made for the Sun Safety Week?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can do so.
Very
So
good.
we'll be in touch
Give
on
you
that.
some homework. So
Yeah.
we wouldn't be education if we didn't give you homework. So
Right.
very cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll work with you on that
Okay.
proclamation.
Thank
Thank you. Awesome. It's always good to hear from students. We have a lot of incredible students across the state. No, we will move on to our action agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda first? I don't believe so. Thought I'd check. Great. So action agenda, item 1, we have a standards for accreditation request from the Alpena School District.
Good morning, Hope Warsh. I'm Assistant Commissioner of Public School Accountability. We do have one waiver request today for class size. It's a standard 1-A.5. The Alpena School District, when I spoke to them, they were actually requesting one less student over. They had a student move out, but they are requesting the waiver for the remainder of the year. When I did speak to them, they do have support in the classroom for the teacher. The teacher was actually advocating for keeping the 30 students in her classroom, which is 2 over what is in the standards for accreditation for that class size. And they actually rotate students. There's other teachers that help in the classroom. I believe Mr. Smith may be on. He was invited today, and if you have additional questions.
I see. Mr. Smith, you're on Zoom today.
Yes, we are.
Thank you for joining us. Did you all want to make any comments?
We would just like to say we did, I'm the classroom teacher as well, the sixth grade teacher, and I had a waiver last year because I had 30 students, and we had hired a teacher at the end of last year, the school year, to be my partner. However, a week before school started, we were aware of something that would potentially cause an issue for us, so she had to resign that Friday before school started on Tuesday. And so we had a lot of conversations about what we felt best, would be best for these students going forward. And we didn't feel that hiring a teacher at that point in the year would be the best option for them. And so that's the reason why we chose to ask for the waiver for this year, to keep them all together in my classroom.
Thank you. What is your name?
Sarah Curry.
Thank you, Ms. Curry. We appreciate you sharing that today and appreciate the work you're doing in sixth grade. Board members, questions? Ms. Rollins?
Just reading through the materials, it sounded like these students were also in a rotating group.
Yes, so I teach fourth grade and sixth grade literacy, so I'm their literacy teacher, and then they go to a math teacher for part of the day, and then they go to a science social studies teacher for another part of the day. So they actually have 3 of us as teachers.
Okay, and you feel well supported in the classroom as well as the other teachers that have this group of students?
Yes, we all do, and 2 of us have had these students previously, and so they're very comfortable with us and us with them, and we're all veteran teachers, and so we feel very confident in our ability to continue this through the rest of the year.
Okay, thank you.
And more questions, Ms. Skinner?
Yeah, just a quick question. This is a waiver for the remainder of the year.
That is
and
correct.
Would expire, what's the?
June 30.
Okay,
Yes.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
More questions? Questions? Ms. Woods, any questions? With that, then, if there's no more questions or comments, the floor is open for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we support this waiver request.
A motion by Ms. Rollins to support the waiver request. Is there a second? A second by Ms. Hunter. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us on Zoom today. Up next, we have 2 sets of rules. The first is the rules governing payments under the Education Freedom Account Program.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. We do have 2 rules before you. The first are the permanent DESE rules governing payments under the EFA accounts. This is not the full rule. This is simply to process payments on a permanent basis. We did receive some public comments, but none of them were substantive, and we did make a few changes to sections 1.01.1, 1.01.1.4, and then 0.5. Again, none of them changed the spirit of the rule or any actual substantive language or operative language. It was simply to include participating school or service provider to be consistent.
Thank you. Board members, questions? To my left, Ms. Rollins. Questions, Mr. Bragg? Ms. Salon? Ms. Woods, questions? Okay. I do want to ask, so this, you just said, is there going to eventually be a rule for the Education Freedom Accounts program, and this will be a subsection of that? Is that correct?
Correct. This language will eventually be included in the permanent rules as well. We did receive public comment on those rules, and we're going to put it out for a second round of public comment. We're finalizing changes currentally. We're not done yet, but
Okay, but this one needed to be prioritized.
correct. It
Because
was
of
to
the
continue
function of
making
getting out the money.
payments. Correct.
Okay, that's helpful. Any more questions, board members? Okay, floor is open for a motion then.
Move to approve the rules. A second.
A motion by Mr. Wood, a second by Mr. Bragg. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Chair. The next rule on your agenda are the tutoring grant rules. These are the permanent rules. We're operating currently under the emergency rules, and I know that we sent a press release on January 30th. We did receive some public comments on this rule. Again, none of them were substantive. Effectively, most of them were to add that word section in front of a section number. and then to make sure that parenthetical numbers were right after the longhand. So for example, 30, you would write down 30, parentheses, the number 30, and move on. That was effectively all the comments that were received. And for any questions?
Board members, questions to my left, Ms. Rollins, Ms. Hunter.
Yes. I understand that families can apply to tutor outside of the classroom, outside of the school. How do we help those parents apply for these grants when they may not have access to the internet to do it themselves? Do they get help from the schools to apply?
I don't know if we have anybody that's been communicating with schools. We can help out with that question. Again,
Good morning, Courtney Salas Ford. So the school districts where those students are notified, and they can also reach out and assist the parents in accessing that information. The parents can come to the school and use their computers, although I don't believe everything is electronic, but the school district is working very closely with the parents of the identified students to make sure that they can access that. So a computer is not necessary.
Okay.
Additionally, we created what's called a DigiLocker for the school districts to go down, and then they can download personalized letters to each of the families that they can send home with the students to go directly to the families as well. So part of this process is a great point, is getting the rules and everything across the finish line, because we had the emergency rules that allowed us to start it. We're codifying a new program now, but how we work with districts to bring an awareness is kind of a next big step, and it's got to be a multitude of different factors.
Yeah. Let me add one more thing. Not Stacy Smith. Not every vendor on the list is digital or computer based. You could have a tutoring core veteran teacher who is local that is providing in-person tutoring. So not everyone not every one of the vendors is digital. Okay, some are, but some are not. So that again would go into the decision by the parent about what they're going to select.
That's right. Okay.
While you're here, Stacy, I have another question, if you don't mind. But I'll let other board members know. Ms. Hunter, Ms. Skeeter.
Well, is it a rolling application for vendors? Is there a cap on how many? Or is it like needs to be approved by August? You know, I didn't see.
Yeah, so earlier this year, we put out, from the Department of Ed, we put out a call for proposals from tutoring vendors where they had to submit their application. And then that was vetted by, it was led by Missy Wally and her team. And they went through and reviewed all the different vendors and what their status, were they aligned to the science of reading, what did they have to offer. And then there is a spreadsheet made that has everything listed on it. The vendors who are on for the $500 have to be aligned to the science of reading, and their primary focus is K through 3. The high impact tutoring was broader. It's K-12, multiple subjects. And so you will see different vendors on the literacy list and then the high impact list.
On the literacy list, when I glanced at it, I thought, gosh, I hope we can get more. So can people continue to apply, or does that stop at this point and reopen?
No, I believe it's actually still open. We're still, yeah, it's still open. Okay, we're still accepting applications for that.
Okay, great, thanks.
As far as, Susie, as far as the identification of students, it's not based on the end of year assessment, is it? I know that they're put it into quartiles.
So this last year, we pulled, to identify kids for this year, we did start by pulling data from last year's summative for students that were in kindergarten through second grade to help us identify the lowest quartile piece. And that's how we started. And then we actually have data from this year as well that has gone into that.
So they're, because as kindergartners, they're interim assessments.
Yes, yeah, we had to go back and then for current kindergartners use that.
Yeah, because I know our assessment results for this year won't get back till later. So more real-time information so that we're not waiting for the results to come back.
Correct. And once we get our K-3 screener in place, which will be early next year, the requirement for screening early in the year, that will be a tool that's used for kindergarten early on.
Okay. And then can you remind me, the high-impact tutoring grants, are those ones done by the school?
Yes, those are.
And these are external providers?
Mm-hmm. But in this set of rules, you have both of those grants in there. Mm-hmm. So the high-impact tutoring grants, most of those have partnered with a vendor to provide high dosage tutoring during the school day. So you'll see some that are doing their own programs, but most of them have done a partnership.
Okay, thank you.
So these dollar amounts are figured on an annual basis?
And it's based on allocation and funding availability.
Okay, and then who decides that? The state
The legislature.
Mhm.
Okay, so that can be variable every year. Okay.
Question. Upon final review of ALC, does this go into effect immediately or is it for next year?
So there were emergency rules, if you want to talk about that.
Correct, so we have emergency rules. Again, none of the changes were substantive. So effectively, the rules are more or less the same. We have authorization, I think, for probably another 3 months because we got them approved last month. And then as soon as these go into effect, 10 days after review of ALC and submission to the Secretary of State's office and State Library, we would be operating under the permanent rules and no longer the emergency rules.
Okay, thank you.
I think one more just in thinking about, I know we talked about it last month, but the high impact tutoring grants, is there going to be any sort of monitoring or is the data coming out around it?
Yeah, so the legislation actually outlines specific data reports that are due to the department. It even outlines if a vendor cannot show that their students are making progress, that they can be removed from the list. And so there are reports that are actually due to the legislature and to the department based on the progress of the different vendors.
I'd be curious if there'd be a conversation later on to move those high impact tutoring grants to be after school grants or summer grants as opposed to in-day instruction.
So it's really based upon what best practices around high dosage tutoring and what the national definition is. There's actually been research for a while about effective tutoring and what that is. And I mean, it goes all the way back even to like the Oden-Picus adequacy studies for the department. You'll see tutoring put in there. But the research around high dosage is about during the school day and about being a certified teacher, the curriculum alignment piece, kind of that point in time need for tutoring versus extended time. We did allow in our high impact tutoring grants districts to tell us beyond what they're doing during the school day, how can they extend it and how could they go into the summer. So we have tried to provide that flexibility, but we're still trying to hold tight to what do we know research says about outcomes.
I totally understand that, but also know logistically it's hard to provide that for students with that and not have them miss core instruction or supplemental instruction that's important as well.
I would agree with you.
Is there any priority given to a D or F school district?
The high impact tutoring grants are competitive, so they submit, and then when we're looking at how we are determining who gets the grants, there are those considerations, in fact, they're factored in.
Board members, Ms. Woods, do you have any questions? Other questions or comments from board members? I think it would be great, and we can talk about the work session. This would be something that in 6 months to a year, getting an update on what we're seeing in schools and how this is going and getting some assessment.
We're required to provide a report annually as well, so we'll be happy.
Talk about Tuesday's visit.
Well, we actually have, so we have these rules that are going in place around the high dosage tutoring, but we also, earlier this year to help support LEARN's implementation, because a lot of this is really about how we're targeting literacy of the state aligned with LEARN's to make sure we're supporting students with access to high quality teachers, high quality instruction, and getting intervention timely. We applied for a competitive grant for a few districts to participate in high dosage tutoring as well. And we were successful in achieving and reaching that grant. It was $1 million grant that we brought in to the state above and beyond what we've gotten from the legislature to support. So we actually have on the 20th, and we can send the board information, a showcase where we're going to spotlight some of the high dosage tutoring in action that's happening in the Jacksonville schools.
Yeah, so maybe something you guys would be interested in attending.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Thank you. Questions, comments, board members? Floor will be open for a motion then on the tutoring, rules governing tutoring grants.
I move we accept the rules.
There's a motion to accept. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Bragg, second by Mr. Rollins. All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, members of the board.
Moving on, it's the end of our action agenda, short action agenda. Is there any new business?
Can I bring up one item? We had a great meeting with some of the board members on the workshop yesterday to start digging into persistent and low performing schools, pulling a lot of data, looking at what school districts are required to submit for different dollar grant applications, if they're in turnaround status, what are we doing, what are we unpacking, how are we supporting schools? So at the end of that meeting, there was a desire, and I can let Mr. Wood jump in here, to possibly reconvene that work group within a couple weeks. So we were looking about the third week of February, because we're going to pull some additional reports and data to bring back to the work group to help kind of keep this conversation moving, and which is great. My ask is that if we kind of reconvene the work group, since it has a pretty good number of members, if you remember, we're starting to get to the point where we're going to be bringing to the board a lot of rules, and we're going to take advantage of every opportunity that we have when the board meets. I'd actually like to make it a quick little business meeting as well, to look at some waiver requests we've received on calendar and school start dates, and then share with the board a rule around the adult high school diploma that we're going to try to get back to the legislature so we can get that program moving forward for next school year. So our ask, I guess, is as we're looking for a time for the work group to meet, if we did a quick meeting as well, since a good number of the members of the board are on that. We were looking at the afternoon of the 21st, which is a Wednesday, and I'd just like to see if that would work, because then we can just start kind of nailing the calendar time down as well for that. So I just want to put that there, Chair.
You want to check your calendar and have any immediate concerns?
Would there be the option to join by phone or?
We could do that, yeah.
Sure.
Yes, for the business part of the meeting.
Ms. Woods, were you able to hear all that? Thank you. Great, then we'll go ahead and move forward with the 21st.
Yeah, I'll work
If
with
that works.
Ms. Perry.
Thank you.
I'm flexible. If 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, whatever is the consensus of the board, we can make it work.
Later the better for me. Is that
8 o'clock at night.
No. Slow down. Maybe 3.
3 o'clock. I'm okay with that if that works.
Yeah. Do the business meeting at 3 and then
Mhm.
work session after.
Oh, is
Or
that would put it all later.
Yeah, could we do 2:30?
Yeah.
How long do you see the business?
I don't think it'll be that long,
Okay, yeah.
because we would limit it to those items for calendars, because schools are planning for next year, and the rule on the adult diploma, we wouldn't have any other business aside. So I think we can keep it pretty focused.
Would that work for you, Ms. Skinner, if we did 2:30?
Yeah, that's
and
great.
then
Thank you.
Start accountability about 3.
2:30.
Great. Then we'll move on to consent agenda. Does board members have any items you would like to discuss or pull? Ms. Woods, are any items you'd like to discuss or pull? Mr. Bragg? Mr. Allens to my left, anyone? Okay, with that, the floor will be open for a motion on the consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Bragg. A motion to accept the consent agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hunter. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Great. We're gonna move on to reports, but let's take just a quick break to let Miranda, if you wanna pack up your stuff, because I think I held you captive last time. Are you sure? Okay. I think we went over, because I guess you're just required to do the action and consent stuff. Thank you. Great, then we will move on to Lee County School District. And we have Ms. Whitlow here and Mr. Stone. Thank you for driving in this morning?
He was upstairs on a Zoom, so he was coming down in a hurry, so you can breathe a minute. Sheila Whitlow, and I'm here to introduce Dr. Michael Stone, who he's in his second year at Lee County School District, and he's going to give you an update on the status of the district, and he knows that he has 10 minutes. So.
And we've been really efficient this morning, so we're good. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning, board members, Secretary Alipa, all that support the Lee County School District. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to come out today and just share a little bit about what's happening in Lee County schools. I'm going to go ahead and get started with the next slide, please. I've got a few slides. I think there's only one slide or one link that we'll go into just to kind of give you, I think I see that. Appreciate that. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a native of Marianna, Arkansas, born and raised. I went to Lee High School and graduated. From there, I went to Harding University in Searcy and finished my master's, my elementary ed, and then master's in administration. I went to the University of Central Arkansas, where I received my specialist degree, and then Arkansas Tech University, I received my doctoral degree. In my career, I was a teacher. I was an assistant principal, director of federal programs, and executive director of student services, all in the North Little Rock School District. And from there, now I'm the humble superintendent of the Lee County School District. Some of the community involvements that I have, I'm a part of the Rotary Club, NAACP, and I've got partnerships and relationships with every single bullet on this board here. One notable one, the Lee Academy Cougars. We've got a great relationship within the community. We both believe that it's a community problem that we're having, and so we're looking forward to attacking that together. The district is in fiscal distress. So one of the reasons that state take over, fiscal distress, academic distress, and so what I've gone in the last couple of years, we've put in place financial procedures. We have a procedure, and I've got a link there. I'm not sure if you all have an opportunity to look at that link, but it outlines and details every single thing that we do within the district as it relates to our fiscal procedures. And so we've taught our financial people within our offices how to navigate this system. We've taught every member or staff in our district what the expectations are, and we constantly remind them throughout the year. And this year we started with we did a carousel where one of our programs was the financial procedures, just to remind them this is how we work, and this is how we're going to deal with things within the district as it relates to fiscal services. We are being supported currently by APSRC. APSRC is gradually releasing over to my bookkeeper some of the things that's going to be able, where we can move forward as a district on our own. We will not move without some kind of services, and we also work with fiscal services, and they are very helpful in what we're doing in our processes. We've had 2 clean audits. Actually, the district's had 3 clean audits. There was a clean audit as I came in, and now we've had 2 clean audits since I've been there as well. Looking forward to continuing to work with fiscal services after this year, but looking forward to also being released from fiscal distress. I want to maybe slow down here and talk about what our academic needs are and how we're addressing those problems that we see within our community. One of the things that we're doing with our pre-K, we do pre-K Rise. Launchpad is the program that's used there. We found that once our kids are going through that program and go into our kindergarten classes, they are stronger than the kids that we're getting from everywhere else that comes into our kindergarten program. So we are using that program with Fidelity, and now we're reaching out to the community as well. We've got plans to all the daycares and facilities that are dealing with whether they come to the Lee County School District or not. We're going to meet with them and help them work through the tools that we're using so that if they do decide to come to Lee County, they've got a head start on some things. Also, we've become the official affiliate for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, where we're trying to flood our community with books. We launched this a week and a half ago, and I've had over 70 responses to date, and we've signed up about 38 to 40 that qualified to be in the program. So it's making an impact. The families are wanting the books, and we're getting them to them as they sign up with our system. Now, I think pre-K is important. This is one of the most important things. I call it a marathon instead of a sprint. We have to get into the homes as quick as we can as a school district so that we can influence the literacy skills before they come to us. So that's why we're doing those type things, and we've got a meeting set on the 12th for those daycares and all that will come in to support them with what we're doing in the schools to try to get a head start on the kids that are in their care as well. Now, I don't know how to click into this link from here. Can you help me with that?
We'll get it.
Okay. A couple of things coming into what's exciting going on at Anna Strong. We've had a new commitment. It's called Level Up. We want to level up. So if you go through the school, once you go through the school, you'll see all kind of gaming things, and the kids are excited about that. I don't play a lot of games, but I know that there's a such term as level up, and they understand what that means, to level up to the next level. And so when we're doing iReady and when we're doing our state testing, they understand that we want them to level up. And that's going not only in Anna Strong, but going into the high school as well. One of our notable things that happened this December, we had a whole class publish a book, and it was exciting. They had a book signing. The kids were thrilled about that. They were just so excited about how that whole process worked. But we used that process to teach them, there's some work to do go into creating a book. So that was an exciting thing as well. See, we're on the next slide. Could we not get into that link? Okay. So in that link that I was getting ready to show you, what that link shows is our iReady data at Anna Strong, and that data is showing that we were 8 to 10% from the beginning of the year assessment to the middle of the year assessment in every area. They've grown. At the high school, the same thing has happened. At the high school, more so with the math, you're looking at 6 to 8% increase for iReady for all areas of the math, but in the ELA department, it's only about a 2%. So when I meet with my academic team, we determined that the ELA department at the high school is our struggle. And so we're putting things in place to make sure that we increase there. Now, we did see an increase, 2% increase from the beginning to the mid, but that's not enough for us. We're not satisfied with that. So some of the things that we're putting in place, we are a PLC community there. We have academic coaches that are supporting our teachers. TNTP is coming in, and they're teaching our teachers internalization of lessons, and also we're using their lesson plans. We got Envision Math. That is, the math is stronger, but we still have a set program for math as well. Our HQMI is we're using it with Fidelity as it relates to having it out and use the material. again, ELA is our problem area, so we're doing a lot more work with them to make sure that we are doing what we need to do with ELA for our 7th through 12th grade students. Some of the things that we are proud about are RTI teams. We have, I would say, one of the best RTI teams in the state, where we focus on behavior and academic. That team meets all the time. Set through one this week, the academic one, and we are looking at data. We're trying to, this week we're looking at our seniors. We're trying to get them ready for graduation. So we're looking at that data. We're determining what the kids are needing, and then we're putting a plan together to solve that issue that we see. So, and the same thing with behavior. If there's a behavior thing, we're contacting, we're reaching out to parents, attendance things. We are doing a really good job with those RTI teams. Another thing that we're excited about, Gear Up had this past week from UCA. We've partnered with Gear Up, and all of our 7th grade students received a scholarship for college right now. And they have a $30 million something that they're dealing with, that we're partnering with them on, and we are proud to say that our 7th graders already have a $1,500 scholarship as they exit high school from the Lee County School District. We are working on ACT prep. We got a vendor in there with the Windward Academy, and we had all of our kids tested. Some of the scores, it was a mock testing. They used the actual ACT prep information to test them, and we had students score 33. We had a couple students score 31, 28, 27, 26, a couple students. They are doing a fantastic job picking up students, and some of these students are 8th grade. So we are really getting down into helping our students, realize that they can expect to score high on the ACT as well. Okay, I'll finish with facilities. A couple of things that we got going in the Lee County School District. Right now, dirt work is happening for our teacher housing. We know that one of the most impactful things in the schools for students is qualified teachers. And in our area, in the Delta, it's hard to recruit and retain teachers. So being able to utilize those ESSER dollars in a unique way to create teacher housing for retention and recruitment, that's what we're trying to do. So we're gonna be complete with this project the time frame is mid-July, June, July, and we should be able to utilize, I'll have at least 2 of them done by July 1. So we'll be able to use that as a teacher recruitment and retention tool. And then we are in the midst of, we're really busy around there. March 5th is the date for, we're asking the community for a 9.6 millage increase. Now that's a huge number, but being the lowest millage in the state of Arkansas at 28.3 mills, that's not a huge ask. The community, I've had in the neighborhood of 15 meetings so far that my committee sent me out to do, and I've got about 7 more to do that I know of before March 4th. So we're very busy, and right now the community support is positive. So we're gonna go ahead and claim that we're gonna pass this millage, and in a couple of years we'll have a brand new K-12 Lee County School District in Marianna, Arkansas. Did I meet my 10 minutes? You don't know how many times I rehearsed that. Questions?
Thank you so much for coming in today. We appreciate it, and some positive updates, and good to hear the growth in students. Go board members to my left. Questions, Ms. Rollins? Ms. Hunter?
What do you identify as potential reasons for the only 2% growth or increase in literacy language arts?
Okay, so we've identified, we talked about this as a team. Low expectation is one of those one of those things, and unprepared teachers. And so that's why we have the TNTP coming in and helping.
What is that? TNTP?
That's a provider that we use for literacy.
It's the
And
New
the state?
Teacher Project is the name of the company. The New Teacher Project. Is
Thank you.
I see.
I thank you for that. TNDP is all I know of, man. I didn't ask what that was. But yes, that's two of the things. Unprepared teachers and low expectation would be two of the reasons.
How does low expectations make that big of an impact?
Well, if you're a teacher in front of a student and you don't expect them to rise to the level, the standard that the state has set, and you have been in a culture or an environment that has, I want to be careful with what I say, but been in a culture and environment that's consistently said that our kids can't do it, then you're not going to teach up to that level. And so that low expectation there makes it relevant to why our kids are scoring low, poorly performing.
And I can add to that,
Yes, sir.
if that's okay. So when you look at kind of literacy across a spectrum, and you look at what's happening in those foundational years, so Dr. Stone talks about the progress monitoring data, they're seeing gains when students are being explicitly, systematically taught the science of reading component. So when you're getting explicit instruction in phonics and phonemic awareness, that's what builds out fluency, vocabulary, and leads to comprehension. When you look at what happens in earlier grades around literacy, as you get into middle school and into high school, you get more into text and text complexity. And so that systematic instruction around phonics isn't as prevalent because those foundational years, we say students are learning how to read, now they're reading to learn. So when you start seeing expectations at a high school, you'll have standards that'll say, read a selected passage, identify author's main idea and purpose. Well, if you don't believe that your students can handle complex text, the text that you're teaching to accommodate that standard matters, because there's a big difference if you're in 9th grade saying identify main idea and author's purpose of Shakespeare and Romeo and Juliet or Green Eggs and Ham. You can still say you're teaching that standard. Do you see? You're teaching that concept, but the type of text that students are interacting, if you don't believe they can handle complex text, and that's why it was really important when we updated our ELA standards and we're building out the supportive documents to make sure that we're giving examples of the types of text at each grade level that should be used that represent multiple different genres, that represent different literary periods, that represent poetry and the type of reading and complexity that you would expect students to be able to handle at that grade level, and to be able to get into a Socratic seminar and a debate and be able to pull from those texts and cite examples and then use that to demonstrate multiple points of views or argumentative writing. And that's one of the things I think as we work with schools and we work with teachers, especially with the implementation of our standards, is having that robust conversation that text matters, especially when you get into high school. And that makes a big difference. I don't know if that was fair.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Well, Ms. Smith, did you have something to say?
I always have something. One of the things I just want to, this district's been under state authority now for several years, but they've been under state authority for different reasons. Okay, so their timeline's a little bit different than other folks. But one thing I wanted to note is when the state first went into Lee County, when we talk about takeovers, we talk about system failure on multiple levels, all right? So just by physical bathrooms without stalled doors, doors hanging off, wasn't even quality places for a student to go and use the restroom. That's not the case anymore. Library at the elementary school did not look like a library. Literally just had, and Dr. Stone was not there at the time. He's come in and helped us fix all this. But didn't even have books that were really accessible for students to access. They were just kind of all shoved in a back room. Didn't look like an elementary library at all. The high school, same thing. They had more books at the high school, but they were all protected and lock and key in a back room. And so getting those, they're out now, absolutely. You could see the remnants of what used to be a really robust CTE program that had just decayed over the years, and you had empty buildings and loss of students. Those things are all shifting. When the pre-K program was a huge drive, especially in the last couple of years, about increasing the quality there, making sure that they had quality curriculum, and you are seeing data as students are rolling into kindergarten and first grade that had been in that program. Huge emphasis from the state, working specifically at the elementary level with a lot of coaching with RISE in the science of reading and curriculum. If those of you that were on the board, you'll remember when we actually sent Carly's team in. It's the first place we called it the Lee County Project. And we went in with her team, and they went teacher by teacher to figure out how we could get teachers licensed. And we went from having like majority unlicensed teachers to now where there's only a few, and that they're on pathways and folks that we're working with. So there has been tremendous change throughout the district. I've shared this story with you before about Dr. Stone reaching out to the private school in the district, and his band actually going to their pep rally and playing to celebrate their kids winning, going to a football championship. And that private school has in turn done the same. They've done some joint community plays together. So we're talking about healing in a community. We're talking about partnerships. We're talking about CTE partnerships. Brought in a barber school for his area where you've got kids actually, you go in there and you go get your hair, you can go get your own hair done. We'll make an appointment. In fact, Lee, next week. So there are things happening. It's never an overnight fix. But when I look back to what it was to what it is now, there's so much potential. And Dr. Stone is leading that work, and he's done a great job. This is his home. Grandma still lives there, right? Mom still lives there. And this is his home. This is where he graduated from. And so it means something to him. And he's done a great job, and we appreciate the work and the hours because it's not easy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just kind of tagging on to that, Stacy, thank you for all that. But Dr. Stone, thank you. You are an impressive individual. I feel so much better about Lee County School District under your leadership than what I've even gleaned from reading the reports that we get every month. So thank you for coming today. And also, because it is your home, I am terribly impressed with the fact that you are willing to let the data lead you where you're going, rather than holding on to, ghosts of the past. I'm sure whenever you graduated from there, the school was not like it is today. You are a product of that, and so letting go of the past and letting the data lead you where you need to go has to be personally difficult for you. I kind of identify with that a little bit. I'm a product of Pine Bluff High School, and so sometimes it is hard for me to understand how it got in the shape that it's in. So anyway, I just want to say thank you, and keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
I have just some comments. One thing I'm really excited about is that you guys have become the affiliate for for Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. I serve on the Arkansas board for the Arkansas Imagination Library, and we actually spoke about the area and how can we engage these school districts, and so I'm so excited to hear that. I also am a huge fan of the Launchpad system. Alicia Atwood and her team are doing a phenomenal job, and I'm so glad to hear that you're already seeing the product of their work, the outcomes. So I'm interested to see those third grade reading levels when those babies that you've had go through up to third grade, and even comparing, if you are interested in doing some of that longitudinal data and looking at how do they compare later down the road, those that have been with you versus those that came from somewhere else. And then the gamification, the level up, I love that. We were just talking about how kids are coming to us differently than they did before. definitely instant gratification is something that they're used to. They've definitely been on devices more. And you can either sit around and complain about it, or you can evolve and lean into it, and that sounds like that's what y'all are doing. So I'm excited about that. And last but not least, I'm coming to see y'all soon. So I'm super excited to get to see all these things in person, and
You're welcome.
look forward to seeing you soon. Thank
I
you
look
for
forward
coming.
to it.
Awesome. Mr. Bragg, yeah.
I want to echo the comments about the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. I think that's going to be, you're going to see some long-term benefits for that. Are you having to finance that through your budget, or are you having community support?
One of the they stated that it'll cost anywhere in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $4,000, and reaching out with our parents through our title programs, we can handle that. We do have the Rotary Club did give us a check last Monday to help support that because we are the affiliate for it, but it's not that much, but we are having some supports from Rotary.
Okay. I commend you for partnering with that. So.
All right, thank you, sir.
Ms. Long?
Well, Dr. Stein, you and I have known each other for quite some time, being that I'm in the North Little Rock School District. But I had the chance to visit Lee County in December, and walking into the school, you feel like this electric energy of kids that just are so excited to be at school, and teachers and staff that are just excited about doing the work. And so I absolutely loved and enjoyed my visit there, and to see the work that you are doing, because you can absolutely feel it in the air. So I thank you so much for that.
Thank you. I look forward to your next visit.
Yes,
All right.
I'll be back.
All right.
Well, that's great. Your little visit. Ms. Woods, questions? I wanted to ask about your school calendar. I know y'all started due to July start date this year. Was that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what that kind of looks like and has meant for your community.
Well, it was a year-round calendar before I got there, and so we've surveyed in the last couple of years. Would they like to move forward with the same type of calendar? And I'm in the 70% yes range. So the community is in very much support of that type of calendar. How we utilize it, though, is we start our school, we get the 7 weeks in the summertime as the law allows, and then we start with our instruction right away. We do a lot of our testing and all of that, so that learning loss over the summer is minimized. So that's the kid effect to it. Then also the adult effect to it is that the teachers, they need breaks too. They need to be able to step away and get a refresh. And throughout the year, so we build that calendar with the end in mind. We got 7 weeks of the summer, so we want to try to start at the same time each year, the third week in July. So we build it backwards, and then throw those days in there for the teachers to be refreshed, the kids to be refreshed. And so it's had a positive impact on both kids and adults in our system.
That's good to hear. So you all will continue that this upcoming school year?
Yes, we will. We've already surveyed for this year, and again, everyone is really thrilled about continuing that process or that calendar.
That's great. I also want to ask on CTE programs. I heard a remnant of, there used to be more robust CTE programs. Is that something that y'all been able to address yet? And looking for partnerships in your area?
Well, we're starting back our automotive program. We've got a CAD program where our kids are doing designs and things like that for architectural. We also have a carpenter program and a barbering program. So we've got programs going on in the district currently that are really good for our students according to student interest. So those are why the programs that we have, that's why those were selected.
That's great. Are students able to do any concurrent credit courses at the high school?
Yes, we partner with EACC in Forest City, and we do have students there going throughout. We transport twice a day, and so they are doing concurrent credit with EACC.
Logistically that's hard, but that's good to hear that students are offered those courses. Those are all my questions. Any more questions, comments, board members? Ms. Woods online. Great. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Stone, for coming in today. and
Great.
sharing with us. We thank you and appreciate the hard work you're doing.
Thank you, and thank you all for allowing me, giving me this opportunity to share with you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Up next, we have Ms. Lillo with the Watson Chapel School Districts, who I believe, are they on Zoom?
Together. Just a couple more. Sheila Whitlow, Office of Coordinated Support and Service. And I really wanted to introduce a couple of the members of the OCSS team because we talk about the team a lot, but they're not able to be here. So we have two of the coaches here today, and they're just going to love me for introducing them. But Dr. John West, he provides principal support, and Dr. Michael Watson. And so Dr. Watson, I want to brag on him because the RTI program or the RTI team, especially in the behavior that they have at Lee County, he has been very instrumental in getting that going. So just wanted to recognize the two of them today. Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming in.
And I want to say one more thing about Dr. Stone because everybody got to brag on him, so I want to share with you one thing that he does, and not all superintendents do this, but he gets in the classrooms. So last week, he and I spent 2 days in those English classrooms, and guys, that was helped us as we talk with the team about what we were seeing and not seeing, and so then he's had several meetings with his ELA team and the coaches about they have a plan to improve. So I'm ready for Watson Chapel, and we have I believe on with us in Zoom Dee Davis. And she's the assistant superintendent, and Tom Wilson, who's the superintendent. I want to make sure they're here because she will present the data today.
I see them both on. Can you all hear us?
Can you see them?
I'm on somewhere.
Great, we can see you now.
So I hope I know how to push the right button. We'll see if I got this. Which one? This one? Right here? There it is. Okay, thank you. So we'll start with security because if those of you that were with us and recall when we first went to Watson Chapel, we did do a security assessment and had some concerns, and many of those have been addressed. But as you see in our report, there are still some things that need to be addressed. So January 30th, Jerry Kiefer and Jason Weatherly went to Watson Chapel and did another assessment. And so you can see some of the things that they saw. And as you see, we still have some exterior doors that are open. And I also observed that this week when Ms. Moore and I were on campus for a site visit. Dr. Moore was with me on site. We also see interior doors that are unlocked. So those are areas that recommendations are to make sure that those are done. We want to make sure that all of the exterior doors are locked at all times. One other thing that I wanted to talk about here also is that we're still seeing some concerns about the duty area during lunch at the high school. So I've talked to Mr. Wilson about that, about placing the duty. We had free duty teachers, but they are all standing together in one area, and they did not have radios. So we're recommending radios as well when they're on duty during that lunchtime because the students are out and about. We were pleased to see that there are changes in the entrance to the buildings at the high school. They do have metal detectors up. They're using those. There are times, though, when it has been observed that the students go through the metal detector, it alarms, but then they just go on in. And that has been observed by some of our team that are on campus there. So we have to be consistent with that and be consistent with those expectations when students are entering. We also have a policy for clear backpacks, but we're not seeing all students with clear backpacks. I think, Mr. Wilson, did you want to say something?
I'd like to make a few comments here. We did get some more clear backpacks in. I think they gave those out. There was a problem with the backpack tearing up. I guess kids would be throwing them on the floor or whatever. And So we did order more backpacks, and we're gonna order more. We're gonna also look for a better backpack this, for next year, to see if we can't, help that problem out. I would also like to tell the state board that, my director of safety and security did resign a week and a half ago. I am interviewing, at the present time for that position. I'm gonna change the job description somewhat. I feel like the director of safety and security should be in charge of all our security guards where they're stationed, and not only that, but work with the principal on stationing any duty teachers and where they should be, and for the total safety of each school in our district. So I am putting together that job description, and hopefully we'll be able to maintain consistency. I did meet with the junior high faculty yesterday afternoon. I was invited over, and I did talk to them about every day should be a normal school day. You know, every day should be a normal day, everybody doing their job, and us being consistent with what we're doing. There has to be checks and balances. Everyone, security guards, principals, dean students, assistant principal, we need to walk around, we need to check to make sure those doors are locked. In some of our doors, a kid may kick the door or something one day and it won't close all the way. And that's why some of those doors. But I do have my maintenance supervisor, he's here, Mr. Hayden, and he told me that there is a list, you know, as soon as it's reported that a lock or a door is messed up, it's sent to him, and he does contact the locksmith to come out or whoever is necessary. So we are taking care of those things. It is an ongoing process.
And yes, and we have communicated all the changes that need to be made. We'll move on to the next two updates for dyslexia and special education. Remember last month I shared with you that we were going to be adding some staff, or needed to add some staff in this, particularly one special ed classroom that needed additional people, and the district has hired 2 parapros, and we have observed those classrooms since those parapros have been added, and we are seeing a safer environment and more orderly environment. For the dyslexia, we're still waiting for some additional interventionists, because there is a need. You see that we have 70 students that are still needing that level 2 screener, and we have some students that are ready for placement, but they don't have the personnel. So I believe the district is going to be getting advertising for interventionist and adding some interventionists to that. And the next slide, please. So you also know that when we came in, master schedule was actually the reason we went to the school initially, because they were 4 weeks in without students having their schedules, and concerns about the master schedule and staffing. So we're working on master schedule now. Educator Effectiveness had a master scheduling face-to-face trainings, 5 regional trainings around the state, and Watson Chapel did participate when we were there in Arkansas River. So they're beginning that initial work. What's left is that they need to do their staffing analysis, determine what staff they're going to need, get to work on that, and then also looking at the student course selections and the specific student needs, and placing them in the master schedule. So the goal is to have that ready before the counselors leave for the summer. And then finally, principals. We know that we need strong principals in every building. So we're making sure that we're providing support there. And the district has contracted with the Bailey Group. They are going to be providing some support, direct support for the building principals. Arkansas River Co-op is also providing someone, and our team has someone that goes in and works with one of the elementary principals. So the principals are getting the support they need. We're going to collaborate, we're going to work together, all of us, to coordinate that service to make sure that we're building strong building leaders. Any questions from you before we move on? Okay.
Yeah, I had a question for Mr. Wilson. You mentioned that, I'm not saying it right now, but there we go. You mentioned that the Director of Safety and Security resigned last week. I was curious if you did an exit interview with him, and if you determined the reason that he left, if there was something that could be adjusted or any improvements that could be made.
Well, actually, he did resign. He went with the state police, and he had been there 3 or 4 years, I guess. He handled a lot of stuff at the school, and he went through the shooting when it happened and all that. And I think he had been interviewing or trying to get in with state police for probably last year. So he wanted to go to work with state police, and that's what he did.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
More questions, board members?
Well, so, I mean, I'm sorry, just to follow up on that question. I think, Ms. Keener asked specifically if there was an exit interview. Was there an exit interview or not?
You what?
Was there an exit interview?
Oh. Really, he told me where he was going, and that was kind of the end of the conversation. But he just resigned like a week and a half ago, and I knew about this. He told me over the summer he was trying to get in with state police, and I said, well, that sounds good if that's what you want to know, but I need to have a resignation if you know when you're going to be hired by them. And he gave it to me about maybe 2 weeks ago.
Thank you.
So that was really the only exit interview. He got another job, and he left us. Now I'm interviewing for the position and working on the job description.
I do have a question, if you don't mind. I appreciate, Mr. Wilson, you and your district for allowing me to visit with Ms. Whitlow this week. It was great to see a lot of teachers and students working hard. As you just provided with the dyslexia and special education update, it sounds like you have some issues with fully covering all students because of lack of staffing. Is that something that you're going to be able to hire more for this school year or aggressively recruit for the upcoming school year?
Yes, and let me say this. Dee has been working real close with dyslexia, and we know we need to hire more interventionists for dyslexia. We're approving one position Monday night for another parapro. Of course, we're hiring that, or not hiring, but also getting approval from the board to hire a designate for a special ed program. It seems like those are two programs that are really important. We got to get to them. We got to help the kids that have a problem, and that's what we're trying to do. Miss Dee, she's on. She may want to make a few comments about it.
Good morning. Dyslexia is a critical area, and we do have some partners, partner programs like our ALE and our Focus Academies, as well as our, we only have, excuse me, currently 3 interventionists, and they are full. Their schedules are full, so we are posting after Monday night for an itinerant dyslexia interventionist who can travel to those outlying partners and then within the district. But that's not going to solve the whole situation. We do need more. So as soon as we can get those posted Monday, well, it'll be Tuesday morning. My plan would be for Tuesday morning to be able to hire some additional dyslexia interventionists. As I'm sure you know, in the middle of the school year, it is hard to find people. I do think my coordinator has had some people who have reached out to her with interest, so I'm hoping that's a positive sign and that we are going to be able to get those immediately.
That's good.
Hey,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Moore, could I follow up with a question?
Yes.
Ms. Davis, could you tell us about how many students have y'all identified specifically in your dyslexia category, and how are they doing with the Barton program?
So currently we have like 42 that are being served. Currently we have 5 that are ready for placement. 3 of those, I believe, are the ones that are at the outlying facilities, and then the other 2 being inside the district. We have that 70 plus that we've identified as having those characteristics of dyslexia. They need the level 2 screening. My coordinator is the only person currently able to give those level 2 screeners, and it takes a little bit of time. You also have to wait on teacher packets to return with that information and that documentation. You have to have parent permission to be able to screen those students, and then parent permission back to place those students in services. So they get some of those services anyway through their win time. However, we need that intensive pull out one-on-one or one to a really small group. So Barton, we are currently talking about the effectiveness of that program. Previously, last year they did Take Flight. That takes a certified teacher. Those people left. So we have trouble getting certified teachers in the classroom. So it's really hard to get those certified teachers to do the Take Flight, although that's the way I would prefer to go. So you do what you have to do to meet the needs. You know, no one program works for every kid. So hopefully the plan would be to move in a direction that we could use both Barton and Take Flight. My grandson I've had personal experience with Barton and it worked for him. But there are those kids that may not work for. So, you know, just trying to fill a lot of gaps, but meet kids where they are, because one size shoe doesn't fit everybody. So moving in that direction, but it's a slow process.
No, I understand and I appreciate that. My daughter is dyslexic and I've done a lot of research recently into dyslexia and she's doing Take Flight 4 days a week.
Okay.
But I was curious just how Barton was doing for your students and whether y'all had looked into other programs. So, but I do understand this.
And that is, yeah, and that is something that the coordinator and I have been even this week talked about. As when she has a CTM or a PLC with her dyslexia interventionist weekly during that Wednesday early release time. And so we've talked about the next thing they need to be talking about is how do we evaluate the effectiveness of that program? Because you have to know whether to keep doing it, whether to stop doing it, whether we need to add something else, and the only way to do that. And Barton does have some of its own progress monitoring, but we really need to hone in on that data to evaluate the effectiveness of the program as a whole.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Board members, more questions at this point? Okay, continue on.
Okay, so just wanted to add, we do have data here from all of the schools from their STAR testing. That was requested last month. Would you like for them to present it? Or do you all have copies of it? Or do you have any questions about the testing results from the STAR reading?
Is the STAR reading the sole assessment given for, is that the one that's given at the beginning, the middle, and the end of the year? And are the diagnostic reports, are those used for planning instruction? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. Dee, did you hear that question? Are you the diagnostic assessment, when you get the results from the assessments, are those discussed with the teachers and are those used to direct the planning for lessons?
Yes, those among many other things. So we do STAR testing as our sort of formal, I guess you could call it, interim assessment. So we do use that K-12, even though it is the state's K-2 formal assessment. We also use it K-12. However, we also have an assessment schedule that we have all the other diagnostics, especially in K-2, that are required by law. We use many of those same things K-12 because we have so many kids at upper levels who are still struggling with those foundational skills. So we do an oral reading fluency, we do a DSA, which is a spelling assessment that has so many other things, pieces of information that it can give you besides just a spelling test. So we do several different things. All of that is kept in a data warehouse, and it is reviewed regularly with teacher teams during their CTM time to plan forward. They not only do they do those things, those 3 formal times, fall, winter, and spring, they also do progress monitoring in between. Additionally, they have their WIN intervention time, and that there's also every 3 weeks there's progress monitoring with that. The challenge is we have a lot of data, And many times we do know and we understand the data, but I think the gap and the challenge is, what exactly do we do now that we know what this says? Yes, I know my kids are low, but exactly are they low? And then what do I do about that? How do I fill that gap? How do I fix that? How do I intervene? So that's a challenge, and just really trying to provide extra support with those specific consultants that come in, like 95% Group. Those consultants come in, the ones that the state provides through the co-ops and through the State Department. Those people are in our buildings 4 days a week, and they are really also working with those teams and the one instructional facilitator that we have to really dig deep into the data and understand not only what it says, but what are the implications for me, for my classroom, for my building, for my district, and how do I address that effectively to make positive progress.
Thank you, Dee. This is Stacy. So one thing I just want to comment to the board is the role of the coaching that you're seeing. That is a shift in even how we're providing professional learning, professional development for teachers. It's more about giving that direct coaching to classrooms, how to use your data, what do you do next, how do you work with your professional team to determine next steps, looking at data as a whole. So you're seeing a shift even statewide in the terms of coaching practices and what that looks like. Before, a lot of times when you have literacy or math coaches that are district-wide, a lot of times they're doing curriculum work, they're writing lessons, they're doing a lot of crunching data and numbers, but they're not necessarily directly working with teachers. And so this shift in the way that we're doing instructional coaches right now, we think is critical, and that's some of the work that you actually see happening in Watson Chapel. Earlier today, when Dr. Stone kept saying TNTP, that is the instructional coaching component piece that they're coming in, and those are those literacy coaches that the state is providing. Okay, so thank you. And then a second question I have just for the board is Watson Chapel monthly report. Are y'all still wanting a monthly report from Sheila to the board? Are you ready to move to every other or written reports, or is this what you continue to want to do?
I'd definitely like to continue the monthly.
Okay.
I don't know how anybody else feels.
Then we'll continue to do it. I just wanted to check in.
One thing I do want to add about the interventions, we also had the opportunity to go in and observe during wind time, Dr. Moore and I did, and what we learned at the elementary is they are doing skills-based interventions, so the students were grouped and went to different teachers based on their skill deficit. So, and they're beginning the implementation of 95% group. They've just gotten it, so they're learning right now and getting coaching from a 95% group coach that's coming on site.
Is that, it feels like a lot of third parties that are coming in. Are they all have the same, I guess path? I'm afraid we've got too many cooks in the kitchen, I guess is my concern.
So some of the coaches in any of the districts that we work with, some of the coaches work directly with those instructional support coaches, and they're growing them because we want to have sustainability. They're not always going to be there. And then you have those coaches that are focusing on teachers and going into the classrooms and supporting the teachers. So it's the role of the district leadership to help coordinate that, to make sure they don't run over each other. That was why I spoke earlier about the coach, the support from Bailey Group, our team, and the co-op. We're going to meet together to make sure we're all saying the same thing and we're leading that work and supporting together.
Yeah. And the name of the office that Sheila leads is the Office of Coordinated Support and Service. And so part of that is directly what you said. When we go into schools a lot of times that are struggling, one, because they are at-risk schools, then they pretty much qualify for every grant, program, initiative that we have. And a lot of times you'll go into these districts and you'll see they have every grant we're offering here at the department. They have every grant from the federal, and there's just, they can't keep up with it. And so part of their role when they're going in is, one, to identify what needs to go away, what services are we bringing in, and ensuring that we're matching that up and assisting the district in making those decision points. Because you can do
too much where you're actually getting no progress and it's just chaos? So it was a
Well,
good
and
question.
Those poor teachers, the initiative fatigue, I can imagine, they're like, could y'all just let me do my job?
Yeah, principals are the
That's
same
Sheila.
way, so if
Sheila.
there are no more questions,
I just have a quick
Sheila.
question. I'm sorry. So I noticed that the percentage of the student population that was tested in the upper grades was significantly lower than the lower grades. So is that an attendance issue? Could we speak a little bit to that?
so Dee shared with me yesterday that the junior high actually got the rest of theirs updated. I cannot speak to the high school to tell you why those are low.
Sheila,
Yes.
I don't know if you can you hear me?
Mm-hmm, we can.
Okay, just an update, on that. The high school has moved from the 86% you see on the slide to having 92% now. Still not the 95, but they've gotten, some of more of theirs tested. The junior high actually has gotten 99% of their students tested. I think there was like 3 kids that have not tested now. And both of the elementaries are either at or over their 95%. So there has been some updates on the percentage of students tested. We are talking about, currently met this week, to talk about what's your plan to make sure that 95% of your kids are tested for the spring assessment, and then for the summative assessment. So even just thinking outside the box, do I need to split all the kids up and make phone calls home? Can I put an advertisement in the local newspaper to make sure everybody's aware? So I think there are some attendance issues. And I think part of it is that our families may not know that it's testing time, and that, hey, we really need your students here with us to test. And if you have challenges, how can we help? What can we do to maybe provide some extra time for you to come up here? I'll stay an extra hour. You'll just bring them. That sort of thing. How can we think outside the box to do that? Also making sure that we're being really purposeful and meaningful with our small group instruction, with our win time, to move the percentages in a more positive manner. I think when you see the data and the numbers, we're going in the right direction. It's just not enough. It's just not fast enough. We need more. And so what can we do to get the more, to make sure our students are we are filling those gaps, and that our students are making positive progress towards increased achievement.
So one other follow-on question to that. Thank you for that information. But so what we have in our packet does show growth for the students. So now that more have been tested, are you still maintaining that level of growth, or have those that have come in later, impacted that growth chart?
The additional students tested did impact it a little bit, again, also in a positive manner, but it's still really low.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, board members. More questions? Ms. Woods online, more questions?
Okay. To wrap it up, I just want to say, when we visited, we did see teachers up teaching. They're using their high-quality instructional material in those core areas. We saw it in the ELA classrooms. We saw it in the reading classrooms. Now it's professional learning and coaching and supporting them to really do a good job with the implementation. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with that, board reports. Any board members want to?
So I'll give a brief report to the rest of the board with regard to the accountability committee. We've met twice since our last state board regular business meeting, and the first couple of meetings, and probably even the next one, have been focused on learning several things with regard to how schools receive their letter grades, how they receive the various levels of support from the department, and also we spent a lot of time yesterday learning about all the reports that schools and districts submit to the department, what information the department has, and we're kind of in the process of building our we're trying to develop a 1 or 2 page just succinct synopsis of where the schools are with, you know, specific data that the department already has. So we haven't really gotten into the meat of reaching out to schools and districts yet, but we envision that happening in, you know, just the not too distant future. Just doing a lot of groundwork right now to have a firm foundation to start with.
Thank you. Board members, any more reports at this time? Ms. Woods? Great, then we'll move on to Ms. Salam. Teacher Lee.
Hello, everyone. So this is my February 2024 State Board Report. It's a little thin this month because of the inclement weather that we had in Central Arkansas, which took away several of my scheduled events because of that. So you all will see that reflected. So my first highlight was actually CTE Day at the state capitol, which was February 1st. And I had the opportunity to connect with Bo McCaslin, the 2024 Arkansas Teacher of the Year, as his students participated in the showcase there. And I'm always impressed by the professionalism and passion of his students. In fact, the rotunda was filled with students from all over the state showcasing their amazing programs. And I saw a couple of our board members as well, as we were able to talk to the students and just get a feel for all the great things that they're doing here in the state. I'm always so impressed by our students and the abilities that they have, and the fact that they will be going out into careers here shortly, or college, their next step. So I love talking with them. In fact, I met one of Bo's students in the fall during the announcement, and she and I had a chance to chat, and we talked about her college choice and what she's going to be doing in August, since she's getting ready to graduate. So I was actually, I received a phone call from the Martin Luther King Commission here in the state of Arkansas that they actually wanted to present an award to me, the 2024 MLK Our Beloved Community Award, that I was one of their recipients. Being a TOY, I've had the opportunity to support the commission, and as a history teacher, I'm always impressed with the work that they do here in the state. Unfortunately, because of the inclement weather, the ceremony was canceled, but I'm always grateful for their recognition, and I'm just always impressed what Director Scarborough and his team is able to do. They have so many things lined up for the month of February, so I'll be reporting those things next month. And yesterday, I was actually at the co-op for Wilbur D. Mills. I was there to speak to novice teachers about my platform, Leading from the Classroom, and just engagement strategies. I love being able to provide support and answer questions for new educators because of their alternative pathway, and being that I was also a teacher who took an alternative pathway with the MAT program. I love being able to just be able to provide that support, because I remember what my first 3 years were like in the classroom. In fact, I made the transition from 3rd grade to 8th grade within my first 3 years. So being able to speak with them and just encourage them to stay committed, and then look for some professional growth opportunities as they continue to grow and master their craft. And then, of course, I love including an educator spotlight, so I wanted to highlight Miss Alford. She's at Booker T. Washington Elementary, and as you all remember, I did the pinning ceremony at Arkansas Tech back in December, where she was a graduate. And so in January, she started her first job here in Little Rock, and I promised that I would visit her classroom. So I actually took her some Starbucks and a t-shirt to just check on her, and I spent a couple of hours in her classroom. She was like, will you give me some feedback? And so we talked about just routines and procedures, because she has students kindergarten to 5th grade. So I actually got a chance to participate in their music day with them. And I just love being able to support our new teachers and check in with them and spend time with some amazing children along the way. So that brings me so much joy, and that's one of my favorite parts about being a tour is getting in the classroom with our teachers and with our students from across the state. That's all I have for this month.
That's awesome that you were able to visit her. Just down the street. That's great.
Yes, and I think Starbucks always helps in the middle of the day.
Totally.
So she hugged me, and they said, "You have a visitor." She was like, "Oh my gosh, she really came to see me." So I love being able to follow up and keep my promises to my teachers. So I love that.
That's really great. That novice teacher that you went to, is that for just non-traditional teachers, or is it all first-year teachers?
Actually, yes, there were some traditional teachers in there, but they were in their, first 3 years.
Okay.
And I always talk to them about how you already have your life so together that you knew exactly that education was for you. And so I can't imagine being 22, 23 years old already starting my career, and they're just so grounded, and that just always inspires me. And just I want to continue for them to continue their growth, whether that's seeking out, a master's degree or adding on to their license, talking to them about lead and master teacher designation, just letting them know that there are so many opportunities for them to continue learning.
That's awesome. Awesome. Board members, any questions, comments? Great. With that, do you have a report now, or we're going to break?
Yeah, my report's going to be quick. I am looking forward to the workshop on the LEARNS update. It's going to be a good report.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and adjourn this meeting. We will begin, how much time, what do we think, for the work session?
We probably need about 10, 15
Are we
minutes
going to move down there?
Yeah, we're going to reset the room.
Yeah, so let's aim for 10:50, 10:50-ish, 10:55 to get back for that. Great. Thank you all.